I'm Lynn and I'm joined here with Leo, and we're going to go through another beginner's program. So if you've got 20 minutes spare, this will be a good routine for you to start with. Our starting pose is going to be standing, so stand up.
You will need 2 folded blankets, a yoga brick if you've got it. If you haven't got a yoga brick or a pad, don't worry about it. You don't actually need one, but you can always use a couple of books for Pranayama.
Yeah, so don't worry about the yoga kit, you can always improvise, and Leo will be giving some hints about that. Our first pose is dandasana. This is when we stand tall like a mountain. So make sure you're very grounded in your heels.
I'm going to spread my toes because I quite like doing this. It's opening out in the toe region so that you can get as much contact with the toes as possible.
Yeah, and if you're absolutely new to yoga, then this is a really good habit to get into. You can actually, it has been known that people have put pencils between their toes to get a little bit more circulation.
We wouldn't advise pencils.
But it's true.
Corks, wine corks are a good thing
Yeah,
to
that's
use.
good too, that's
Except,
good too.
you know, nobody has wine corks anymore, do they?
No, that's true. And if you're a yogi, of course you wouldn't have. Alright, so roll your shoulders back and down and lift your sternum chest up. So see that when you're in this position, you just slowly go through the body from the base. So the weight needs to go back into your heel bones so that it engages with your legs. The kneecaps lift up, the thighs lift, and then the whole organic body lifts out of the pelvis, as you can see here with Leo. Roll those shoulders back and down and lift above the chest so that you've got really broad collarbones. That's very important. Now our next action is Urdhva Hastasana, so taking those arms up above your head. And just watch how not to do it. So Leo's going to show you now.
Now, if you've got a lumbar spine, this is what you'll do when you take your arms up. I'll try not to hit Lynn when I do this.
Yeah.
So you can see there I'm using the flexibility in my lumbar spine to get the action, which is not good. Okay.
So she's now going to show you the correct way, or a way how to control that lumbar spine. So firstly, just take the arms into this position. So you're bending at the elbows and the fingers are facing up towards the ceiling. Take a nice deep breath in without poking the ribs, go straight up with those arms. And this is a really good way to understand the shoulder alignment. So keep the chest lifted, extend into your fingertips and breathe. So you have to reach the energy right through the arm, right through the wrist and right towards the end of the fingers, as well as thinking about the instructions for Tadasana. So remember where your weight is on your legs, lifting those knees, thighs, lifting out of the pelvis, lifting your sternum chest. So just remember that and just take a few breaths, a few inhalations and exhalations. And then releasing the arms down. So we're coming for lateral standing poses. The first pose we're going to come to is Virabhadrasana 2. So it's quite challenging. You have to make sure that your legs are wide enough to make a square. So I've got to try to keep out of Leo's way here so I don't get hit with the fingers. Alright, so in this position, we've been through this with beginners 1. You have to be really sharp in those outer foot bones. You're going to turn to your right. Leo will be turning to her left because she is doing a mirror image at the moment. So pull up your kneecaps, thighs, lift your sternum chest, and now make a square with your front leg. Good. Sharp with that outer foot bone. And look along those fingers. So one of the important things when you first start with this pose, you feel very heavy in the legs. So try to lift that organic body out of the pelvis. Try to lift through the sideways, lift the chest. And just count for 5, be in this position, sharpen your back fingers, back arm working strongly, and then coming out of the pose. You don't have to stay too long in it, you can practice it several times. So turning to your left side. So lifting up through the chest, extending, creating that space so that you can hinge at the hips. Come into Virabhadrasana 2, keeping those arms nice and level. level with the shoulders. And as you can see Leo here, she's starting to turn to gaze along these fingers. So sharpen those arms. The more you extend from the root of the arm all the way to the fingertips, you'll find the pose will become a little lighter for you. Take a breath in and come up out of the pose. Turning the feet in, jump the legs together, and just be in your Tadasana and become more aware of your breath. So remembering, focusing from the base of the pose, the weight onto the heels, the lifting of the legs, lifting of the thighs, lifting out of the pelvis. Rolling those shoulders back and down. Good. So we're ready to go now for Parsvakonasana. So we've already introduced this pose. So Leo's going to explain a little bit about the prop.
Okay, so we're going to have, if you've got a brick, you can take it to the right-hand side of your mat towards the front edge. If you don't have a brick, don't worry, you can just work in the intermediate version of this pose rather than taking the hand down.
Yes. Okay, when you're ready, stand in Tadasana, fingers to the chest, and jump the legs wide. Good. Turning to your right side, left foot in, whole of your right foot and leg out. Lifting your sternum chest, and again, remembering those arms, they feel heavy at first when you first start yoga. Really heavy, and it's hard to hold them up, but reach into the fingertips. Make your square with the front leg. And remember, don't lean onto that front leg. Sharpen your outer foot bone, but also to lift out of the pelvis. We're coming to the Parsvakonasana action now. So extend forward and take in the wrist onto the top thigh. So this is a really good way for beginners to start because you're not actually going all the way into the pose. You're just coming into part action, transitional stage. Remember, as we said before, you've got to be sharp on that outer foot bone. It's almost as if your foot bone is to a wall. And you can practice this to a wall. This is a really good way of working. And then if you're able to, take that hand all the way to your brick. Now, make sure that your arm is touching that inner thigh, so you have that connection. Now, I'm going to add another instruction now. You have to see that this outer right hip is moving in. It's moving in. And
so I'm trying to move the groin forwards towards the front edge of the mat here.
Yes, and you can see how this opens the whole of the abdomen, and then reach the arm. So it may be that you're reaching up to start with. If the shoulders are really stiff, then this next action may be a little bit difficult at this stage. Don't worry about that. Just reach the arm up, and if you can, take it over the ear. That's it. And again, all the energy needs to go back into the back foot bone. Lift that back inner ankle. Very important tips for Parsvakonasana. On an inhalation, come out of the pose. Come up. Good. Turn in the feet. So if you are using a support, then move it to the other side and reach the arms again. Take a few breaths. Lifting up out of the pelvis and come into your square. Come into your square. Good. And again, sharpen that back foot bone. You've got to see that that back leg is really strong, supporting you. And then come into part way into the pose. Transitional stage. And remember what we said. You have to see that the weight is even in the back leg. So you're not leaning so much onto your front thigh. That may take a little bit of time to learn. Taking your hand down onto your support. So left hand to support or to the floor. And remember that instruction, moving the outer hip in. So as Leo said, you're going to move your groin towards the front edge of the mat and roll the shoulder back and down. Get that turn in action. And eventually all of these ribs will turn like rings. Eventually, you have to wait for that. And then extending the top arm up and rotating the arm if you're at that stage and taking it over the ear. And breathe. So once you're in the pose, if you're managing to get to this stage, just let the breath become smooth and even. And then strong in that back leg, draw the abdomen to the spine and come up out of the pose. Good. And turning the feet to face forward. So we come back to Tadasana. Let's take a few breaths. We're going to come down to seated poses now.
So I'm getting a couple of blankets here. Some of you will be fine just sitting onto the floor, but the blankets give a good lift, I think. And
Yeah,
you know, it's a better option if you're a beginner to start with some height and get the correct alignment in the body.
Okay, so we're preparing in dandasana to then bend the legs for virasana, which is a kneeling position.
So actually I'm going to bring my blankets a little bit further forwards here.
Okay. So when you come for dandasana, as we've showed before in beginners 1, you have to see that you're sitting in the correct position, and this actually evolves over time. But you have to make sure that the buttock flesh moves out to the side and it moves back, so that you free more movement in that fold. Taking the hands beside you and rolling your shoulders back and down. Extend into your heels and pull up your knees into the thighs. So there's lots of different two-way actions going on here. And just be there for a few moments, really smoothly, evenly. Sometimes you may find if you're absolutely completely new to yoga that this is a very difficult pose to hold because the back's not used to supporting you in this way. But just bear with it, keep the lift out of the pelvis and see that you lift out of any aches or pains.
What would you say, Lynn, if someone's finding it difficult? Would you suggest they go with their back to the wall or come higher?
Come higher. To ascend the spine you need to have height. So if you're feeling that there's a lot of aching in the back, then just go a little bit higher. Okay, so we're going to come for virasana now. So virasana is a kneeling position. This is not the easiest of poses. If you've got knee problems, then again, the height in the support is essential. So you can see here that Leo is using her blankets, kneeling up.
Now this might not be enough height for you, alright, and if there's any pain in the knees, you know that you need a higher support than this. Don't just tolerate it and think, oh well, I won't stay in it for very long. If you've got pain in the knees, come up higher, use more support.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see here Leo's moving the skin flesh and the muscle fibre away from the back of the knee, so it gives you a little bit more space. Some of you may be so mobile you can just sit down onto the floor, but be careful with that because you want to make sure that the toes are facing directly back and the little toe is moving down towards the floor. It's always a bit of a challenge, but it's quite an important action to become more mobile in the feet.
If you do find it's really uncomfortable on your feet, and when we're teaching, certainly I find that men find this a more difficult pose than women for the feet and the ankles. You can always roll another blanket and just place the roll of blanket underneath the ankles, and that generally takes away problems in the feet.
Yes, I agree, but also you can roll up a sock and just pop it underneath the ankle, just to alleviate some of the pressure. It's only a temporary stage until you become more mobile in front of the ankle. So just sit here for a few moments, lifting out of your pelvis, rolling your shoulders back and down. And we haven't spoken very much about the shoulder blades, but they need to be moving deeply down towards the back post. And this pose will prepare you for Bharavajasana twist, which we're going to come to now. So straighten your legs out, come back to Dandasana, you'll be familiar with this.
So swing the legs out to one side to do that, to come out of it.
Extending into Dandasana, seated posture. Extend into your heels, lift up, chest up. So to come for Bharavajasana twist, this can be a little bit challenging, and Leo's going to talk you through this now.
Okay, so I'm going to show from the side and then from the back, because it's really important to get the feet right on this. So in this pose, we're just going to swing the legs to the left. So you can see that the toes of my right foot, they're about in line, my foot's about in line with the front edge of my support, and the toes are going in line with the support. The left foot sits on top, like that. Now I'm going to show from the front way, because you can see that that does tend to make you a little bit uneven.
Yes, and of course, when you're very uneven and you've got difficult stiff hips, then of course that can put some pressure on the knees. So it's much better and safer to have a little bit of support to start with. And again, it's not forever, it's just until you start to get a little bit more flexibility.
So what will tend to happen, oh sorry, I've got my legs going to the right there. Okay, I'm mirroring you, so take your legs to the left. And what will tend to happen is that you will veer to your right side here. And we've got to try and make the pelvis level. So if you find it difficult to level out the pelvis, you can always fold that blanket a bit more to get the levelness in the hips. If there's difficulties in the knees, if your knees are uncomfortable, come higher until there's no pain. Don't work in this pose with pain. If you're all right, if you haven't got a problem with the levelness in the hips, then keep like you are. You can use your brick behind or a book. And then you're going to lift up through the chest, extend the left arm up by the left ear, take it to the outside of the right thigh, swing the right arm around and turn.
Yes, so this is a very important stage, and also to remember what Leo was saying about this grounding down with the outer hip. You can see here. This actually just levelizes everything and it increases the fold so that you can lift up. So with every extension you have to find that stability and to root down. Good. And just be in this for a few moments, keeping the lift through the front body. I'm going to come to the other side now. And of course, if you are really flexible, you can sit on the floor and get the levelness of the hips, then that's fine too. But we're assuming that a lot of people who start yoga, who are complete beginners, find these actions quite challenging. We will be putting together our library of poses and we'll be showing you more classic actions.
Okay, so again, you can see here that the thighs are coming out directly from the hips. They're not veering off to one side or the other. And again, I'm trying to get that moving down action with the right groin this time. Stretching the right arm up, taking it to the outside of the left thigh and swinging the left hand around to get that lift. Don't bring this side with you.
And this is something we see a lot in the classes, so this is a really good way to correct, is just be mindful of that and to ground down with that outer hip. And from that, rooting down, lift so much through the front body and get that turning action. And as I said before, these ribs will eventually become more fluid and you'll be able to spin them a little more.
I could do with your adjustment on this side actually.
So keep that lift through the chest. Take a few breaths, 4 or 5 breaths in the pose. And as you can see, as you get the momentum going with the breath, we can start to get more of a turn, more of a twisting action. And then release in. So those are our poses for today, our beginner's routine.
We're just going to show you how to relax after you've done a yoga routine. We're not going into a complete shavasana here, corpse pose, but we're just reclining back with the legs bent. Make sure that you're in the centre of the mat, that the buttocks are extending towards the heels. Take the arms out to your sides with the palms facing the ceiling and just let the eyes close and take a few breaths.
You just need to move the head slightly, Leo. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that right? We like to get the alignment correct.
And just enjoy these few moments of relaxation, being aware of the breath, and just completely relax your facial